Start recording. Okay, friends. Good morning to all. At the outset, I welcome you all for the third day and third technical session on the bank branch audit. So far, we have had two technical sessions, which is on revised LFIR and COVID-19 RBI circulars. Today, we have with us an eminent speaker, CA K. Vijay Srinivas, who will be talking on this session, effective use of technology tools in bank branch audit. Before we start session proper, I will like to give a brief introduction about today's speaker. Today's speaker is K. Vijay Srinivas. He is based out at Hyderabad and practicing for more than 18 years. He is a Master of Commerce, that is MCOM, and a Chartered Accountant FCA. He is a Certified Information System Auditor USA, Certified Fraud Auditor USA. He has other certification courses done by ICAI also, Anti-Money Laundering Specialist, Diploma in Information System Audit, Forensic Auditing and Fraud Detection, Concurrent Audit, INDS and Indirect Taxation. He is also having a specialization in Information System Audit, Forensic Audit and Fraud Investigations, Fraud and Risk Management Services, Data Analysis. He has been recognized in the following position by the ICAI also. He is a co-opted member of a Student Skill Enrichment Board, ICAI, New Delhi, in the current year. He is a Secretary of Hyderabad chapter. He is a Treasurer also of Hyderabad chapter 2018-19. He is the Information System Audit and Review of IT framework of various banks, NBFCs, Forensic Audit of various listed and unlisted companies, Fraud and Risk Management Consultancy to Citibank NA, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Cholamandalam DBS Finance Limited. Also, he is ASM Audits of State Bank of India, Management Audit of Union Bank of India, due diligence of various listed and unlisted companies as part of acquisition and mergers, microfinance due diligence audit as per RBI guidelines, more than 500 branches across India, covering portfolio of HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, Punjab National Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank. He is also statutory auditor, concurrent auditor, revenue auditor of State Bank of Hyderabad, Vijaya Bank, Bank of India, Central Bank of India, Canara Bank, Syndicate Bank, UCO Bank, Corporation Bank. I think he has got all the banks which are there in India. Also, he is doing a business valuation of entities during investments, mergers and demergers. He is a guest lectures and workshop on a banking frauds, Excel as an audit tool, data analytics for GST department, income tax department, and for students of members of ICAI. With this brief introduction, I request our today's speaker Srinivas sir to take out the charge of the session, please.
Thank you for such a detailed introduction, sir. In fact, it's all by virtue of people like you been giving opportunities to share my knowledge, and probably sharing knowledge has helped me a lot to get whatever works or recognition, because that's the easiest way to reach many of the people, and I take up any opportunity whenever it comes, especially to share something what I know, and nothing like in the brotherhood of CS. If I can share for all our CS, nothing like that. Okay. So to start with, I believe just to recollect a few aspects other speakers would have mentioned in the new LFIR and the way the challenges we are going to face, especially in terms of COVID circular and all. And just to refer to the audit report of SBA, where auditor has commented on reduction of 2% in NPA by virtue of the Gajendra case law, where Supreme Court has allowed that. So they have taken it as a kind of concern to go for whatever classification reduction is there. And I'm sure we are going to get the same challenges across other banks also, more or less. Only thing is that is case study applicable only for the SBI. So we have to be cautious if other banks are taking shelter of those case study. It has to be like case to case basis. It can't be a common circular applicable for all. And before we proceed, I'll just again to revert back to our so-called LFIR, new LFIR. Why we are highlighting on this aspect? Because this is where it syncs with the kind of improvisation what we have to do in terms of audit. Okay. Now, why we are doing this? Why we are doing this kind of analysis? Why we are getting into transaction audit? And is it possible for us to do within the given time of 10 days or so? Though honestly, a time, what quality time we'll be spending is roughly around 5 days to 1 week. But still, considering the reporting and all, probably it might go for 10 days. But is it possible? Now, if you see the scopes of these 3 or 4 points, each of these points, if I speak about this third point, this is part of a systems audit. Like if I'm dealing with any systems audit, that will be part of that my scope. And if I'm dealing about the transaction level audit, it's more like a forensic kind of audit. And I'm trying to comment on the threshold limit. It's just like any other sampling technology or sampling technique, what we are discussing about. So it is this particular LFAR has incorporated all the ingredients of forensic audit, ingredients of systems audit, ingredients of so-called regular audit, also trying to concentrate on the branch profiling in terms of how branch controls are there in terms of risk management, compliance, internal audit. So this is like, they want us, it's more like a management audit at the branch level kind of thing, which includes all management audit. For your kind of information, the scope includes all the aspects of audits, including systems, forensic, regular internal audit, verification, revenue leakage, everything. So what they have incorporated is all those aspects of management audit at the branch level. So that is a change what we are seeing, one aspect. Apart from all those 40, roughly around 40 different changes, what they have incorporated in a new LFAR, where they're asking the details of those transactions, details of those accounts, what you have verified, and also the control related information, including those miscellaneous general clauses where we have to comment on the internal information systems as well. Okay. So with this little introduction, just to, because we can call it as a Pradhana Slok, right beginning of any session, because once you recollect why we are doing this, then you'll be cautious to understand why we are going for these kind of sessions and all, because the challenge what we are going to have in the new LFAR. Now, to start with, what we'll do is we'll segregate our session into two ways. One is the way we import the data into the Excel. Second, the way we analyze the data in Excel. So while importing, I'll try to take 3 to 4 different kind of examples. Usually when I'm dealing with the Finacle, that will be through text, RPT or RTF or text file, what they'll be exporting. And if I'm dealing with other, like say banks, FlexiCube or other aspects, they give option of XML, Excel, and of course RPT. So there you can request for Excel export, but the challenge will be Excel will be in an unstructured format. So that also we'll see how we can refine that. Okay. To start with, let me just see that I've shared the entire screen. 1 second. Yeah. So I've shared my entire screen so that you can see the movement of whatever windows I'm going through. So to start with, what we'll do is we'll try to take up a simple kind of bank statement. Okay, a normal bank statement. Usually for here, you just need to understand a few important aspects. Okay, we have something called application. Keyboard is struggling. 1 second. Then you have reporting server. You have the live server. Okay. This, of course, that will be having various wordings when it comes to live server and all. It's actually more of a backend kind of thing. So while we are generating the reports at the branch, we'll be getting more of from the report server. And that is where either it will be in a fixed width or in a delimited. These are the two aspects what it covers. Otherwise, other servers like application or the one live server where customers, if I'm generating a statement while logging as a customer, that will be through live server, because that's where I can see immediately the transaction which I've done just a couple of minutes before. There it will be more of fixed width. This and the application server more of fixed width. Let's say if I'm having around 10 fields, each field will have maybe 12 digits, 30 digits, 18 digits kind of fixed width. Whereas if I'm generating from the report server, either I'll have fixed width and delimited. And most of the time, the EOD reports what banks generate will be in a delimited. So either it will have a comma separated or a special character like this, whatever you have a special character which goes with code 121. There are separate codes for this. So these are the things what you have to face the challenge. So what we'll do is we'll take up one fixed width kind of normal statement, one a delimited, and also we'll take up if in case banker has shared the information in PDF, okay, in multiple statements in PDF and multiple files in a single Excel in an unstructured file. So we're going to take up all these 4 different kind of import. To start with, let's say I'm dealing with a normal bank statement, which is of course generated from the report server only. But because it's a customer statement, usually it will be in a fixed width, because as I said, couple of statements can be configured with a fixed width. How to deal with this? So I'll just run through the important steps of this so that it will be easy for you more than anything. And probably if I'm sure if it is getting recorded, so you just need to revisit again and again if in case you're having clarity. So either I can import directly from the given file, or I can probably copy paste from the given while opening up the given file. Okay, let me just browse through the file which I'm trying to use. So there are again 2 different aspects depending on the version what you are following. If you are using the latest version, that is Office 365 or Office 19 or Office 2016 updated with the latest patch. In those cases, it is more of an RDBMS concept, that is relationship database management, where the import mechanism will be different. And if you are using prior version like 2007-10, you can do the same steps, but the screens will be different. Otherwise, nothing different in the steps what you are following. So first thing first, I'll try to import. As I said, the difference will be because I'm using the latest version, it will take you to a particular screen called whether you want to export or you want to transform or you want to consolidate. All those options will be given compared to the one what we have. Now this screen will not be there in 2007-10, so it will directly take you to the text to column screen. But anyway, for here, I'm just going to load this into my Excel first before we proceed with text to columns. Yeah, now we have, this is the difference. If you are importing the earlier file, it is automatically considered as a table. It has itself changed as a table with the name of the file what I have given. If you are using earlier version, it will normally import it without any modification as a table. So that's the difference, because this is more of a relationship database. As I said, automatically it will convert it into a table, but we are not looking for any table and all. So what we can do is I can directly select the entire column. Now the challenge here is all the transactions are pasted in one single cell. Okay, and here where we have to enter and mark it clearly while using either a fixed width or delimited. This particular report is a fixed width. So what we'll do is we'll go to data. We'll click on text to columns and fixed width. We'll try to go for manual partition. Now this is the width of, if you remember, like you have A4 size, which speaks about the 80 columns. You have a legal size, which has, so likewise, these widths are nothing but the width of the given page settings what we have. Okay, so it will be up to 132. The entire width of the particular settings will be 132. So one way of doing is either you identify the field count, saying that how many fields are there. Okay, for that again, let me just cancel this. I want to check how many fields are there in this. I'll use an option called length. Okay, I'll find out a function called length, L-E-N. That is to find out the length. I'll just choose this particular cell and say, okay, so this is the length of 145. The whatever information they are importing from this particular report, it has a length of 145. This 145 will be divided between date, 12 digits, narration could be 35 digits, another reference could be 10 digits. Likewise, they differ. That is what fixed width is. Okay, they have fixed the width, and you are you just need to call up the same fixed width while placing the partitions. So I'll click on this text to column just to repeat the steps. I'll choose the fixed width, say next, and these are the partitions which Excel has automatically recognized based on its own tabs and all, but we'll not use that. Rather, I'll use my own partition. So if you see, as I said, date is a 12-digit field. So I'll ensure that I'll place my partition exactly at the 12-digit. And coming to the next field, you have a narration. The typicality of narration is we don't know what is the length of the narration. It might be 30 or it might be 40. So what I'll rather do is take the clue from the column which is following the narration field. If it is a date, because it's a 12-digit, we know exactly where to put the first partition. If it is any other number, probably we can follow the column headings, because column headings are text based, and in report servers, or for that matter, any language of reports, it will be always left aligned. Text will be always left aligned, number will be always right aligned. So I'll take the clue because I'm following the heading, because it is left aligned. I can confidently place my partition exactly at the beginning of the text. So that is with regard to the next. And again, we said this is a 12 digit of date. So I can use exactly these 12 digits as my partition. Proceeding further, as I said, number is what? Right digit. I mean, right alignment. So I can confidently place my partition exactly at the end of that, because always these are going to be right aligned. Okay, so taking these clues, I'll not bother about what is there below that. I'm only bothered about the field type. I'll follow the field type, whether it is a number or a text, as good as that. Now, once I place my partition, I'll go to the next field. Now here you want to choose something like, say, you don't want to import certain columns, or you want to convert some format into different dates and months. Like, say, I'll take up one more example where sometimes if your client is sharing, if it is 1-2-2020, it might display as 2nd of January rather than 1st of February. Now, how to handle those? That also I will take up a simple example. But as of now, we are having in a proper format of DMY, so I can ignore that. Probably I want to retain these zeros. Now, as I was saying, this is the text field for the reason that nowhere we will get a number starting with a 0. Automatically, it will wipe off zeros. Now that we are having zeros, that indicates that we are dealing with a text column. So what I'll do is I'll ensure that I'll convert into a text column, because as you can see, automatically numbers will get converted into numbers, date will get converted into dates. Okay, so automatically I don't want to lose these zeros, because I might have to go for VLOOKUP, and VLOOKUP will be much easier if it is an exact match. So I'm trying to retain this as a text. Rest of all, it's not much a problem. So I'm going to say finish. So it has lost its table structure and got the entire data into a proper Excel. Okay. Now, how about the refining? Now, irrespective of whatever data you are dealing with, whether you are dealing with the Excel data, or you are dealing with the text data or XML data, whatever it is, you ensure that at least the first page headings, whatever you have, will be reaching the top row of your Excel. Okay. First thing first, I'll remove all these junk to ensure that my column labels will be the first row. Okay. And see that at least the first row, that is the column labels, attaches with the next following data. I don't want to have blank, because if I have to apply a filter, I'll just remove the gap between the first row, that is the column labels, and the rest of the data. That is the first step what I've done. Now, the challenge here is each of the page will be having the same repeated headings, repeated information about the customer, repeated steps in terms of blanks. You will have a footers, headers. Okay, so second challenge will be how to refine this data. One way of doing this is I'll place my cursor in A1. I'll hold Control Shift and say end, so that I'm selecting the entire table structure right from the A1 cell till the end. So you can see around 17,405 rows of data I've selected. I can do so and say Control T to convert into a table structure. That is one way of doing. But instead of that, there is a better way of doing, because it's not about converting into a table structure. We are having some challenges like narration flowing into separate rows. Now I want to get all these narrations into single row, because unless I have the narrations into single row, I can't do proper analysis. So that way, what I'll do is I'll take a step. In a way, I can convert the entire range into a binded kind of table, and also ensure that my couple of rows are falling into single row. So what I'll do, I'll try to join these both rows. Okay. So I'm going to say this and this. So by joining, what I'm doing, first thing what we are seeing is first row has a table, that is the date and the respective reference number and the debit or credit amount. Okay, that is where I'm interested in. I'm not interested in the second row data. So once I copied, I'll try to have all my first row. What I'm going to do is I'm say Control C, Control End to go to the last part of your table. Okay, and paste in the same column where you have copied. That is C column is where we have copied. So I'm going to copy this formula throughout my table That way, what I have done is I have binded my entire table right from row number 1 to 17,380 rows. So it's just like working more like a table structure because I binded the entire data. Now all the filters, all the sorts will be equally working throughout my table. Okay. Now, obviously, we have to copy paste special because if the formula is there, it will disturb the entire thing. So I'll say copy the entire table. I'll right click and paste it as values. So now no more formulas, but whatever we are looking for, it is there on the top row. Okay. Now you might question that if it is 2 rows, that's fine. If it is 3 rows in some places, 5 rows in some places, how we are going to do that? We'll see that before let's proceed with this first. Now, whenever you are coming across, okay, probably we can copy this also within the proper name. We'll call it as full description, whatever. Now, whenever you are coming across any particular table, easiest way will be if you have a date field, nothing like that, because Excel will automatically group the relevant dates. So that way you are taking the advantage of grouping the data which you are looking to retain and probably remove of the entire chunk. So whenever you are having a table which has the date, try to use it straight away. Or if you don't have date, second option will be identify the field where you have numbers, because numbers will be on the top of your table while you are applying a filter. Rest of all text will be on the bottom. So you can probably filter using a number filters so that you can want to retain or get rid of. But as I said, if I'm having a date, nothing like that. So what I'll do is I'll straight away filter, apply this. I'll sort, okay, based on, like, you have to enable my data as headers. It is the reason what I said is initially we'll see that my column labels will be on the top row so that I can enable my data as headers. So once I enable, I'll see that I select the date and sort the data. So what it is going to do is at one go, it will sort all the statements into one place, and rest of all junk is there, which has gone to the bottom of the table. Now up to 5,700, we are dealing with the proper data where we are looking for analysis. Now still you don't want to have that junk also. You just want to get rid of all the junk, whatever you have. So in that case, easiest way is, as I said, you apply a filter, Control Shift and L. Okay, that's the way, a shortcut of applying a filter. So once you apply a filter, you go to the drop down. This is what I said, advantage of having a date. Because if I'm minimizing this entire field is having all the transactions. I just need to minimize this, untick it. Okay, so what we are going to display is only the junk data, date related data, I've hidden it. Okay, once I say okay, now this I want to get rid. I'll just place my cursor over here. Same step, Control Shift and End, so that you select the entire junk. Okay, and say Control minus. What Control minus will do is it will immediately remove all the junk. I'll say okay. Once I have done that, what we are having a proper statement for the sake of analysis. So just to repeat the steps while importing, if it is a fixed width, you will go identify what is the length of that particular text, identify what is the width of each thing, follow the data types. If it is a text, fix up a partition exactly before. If it is a number, fix up a partition exactly at the end. So at one go, you have got all this data ready. And you might say, do we have to do this again and again? It's not required. Whatever 5-6 steps we have done, you record that particular macro. You just need to click this developer and record macro. Just click on the record macro, do whatever you are doing, all those 5-6 steps. Next time, when you paste that particular data, when you import that data, you just click on the macro, it will do all the stuff. It won't take much time. So even if it's 1 bank statement or 10 bank statement, hardly it might take 5 to 10 minutes to import all this. It's only that the first time you have to be careful. How is that you are doing this particular way? This is one way. Second way, as I was saying, if in case I have more than 2 rows, okay, this is a typical kind of formula. What I'll do is I'll rather display the formula so that you can probably note it down, do little R&D. See, Excel is a function. Excel is such an application where more than listening, it requires more of practice. If you can keep on doing the same, whatever we have done, just keeping the video on, if you practice it for a couple of times, then that's where you get familiar with. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just copying the entire data again and pasting in my Excel. Okay, and let's run with the regular import Okay, probably you want me to record a macro. I'll show that also. Let's say I'm doing the steps of recording macro just to see how fast my macro works. Okay, now that probably it might hardly take 2 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll do the same steps. Instead of importing, what I've done is I copy pasted the data into A1 cell. Now whatever steps I'm doing, I'll be recording the macro. So I'll developer, I'll say record macro. Let's call it as bank import. I'll say, okay, now our recording button is active. So whatever I'm doing, that will get recorded. So what is the first step is I'm going to say text to columns. I'll go for the fixed width, just run quickly through whatever we have done because the same thing we are recording as a macro. I'll remove this, ensure that my exactly on the left side of that. And so as in case of the date, have it at the end of each of the date column. And next, probably we want to retain, yeah, this is what we thought of retaining. We'll convert into text. We'll say finish. Once I have done that, I said control home to reach to the top. Ensure that my top labels will reach on the top as the first row. Then I want to remove the second row, but while moving, what I'll do is under developer, I'll enable this relative reference. What relative reference does is instead of every time deleting the same A2 row, it will just follow the relation between whatever steps I'm doing. So that way it will not repeat the same thing. So I've enabled relative reference just to remove this second row. Okay, I will auto fit the entire data so that we can see the data properly. Every time, whenever you're doing, you say control home so that that's where your journey starts. Okay, now I want to insert a column over here. So I'll enable relative reference again, just to move to the two columns to the right, say insert. Then I'll disable my relative reference, copy the formula where I'm trying to join this, copy, control end, go to the C column to paste the entire data. Then copy the entire data, paste special. Now we are trying to sort the data in terms of having date as the top header column, sort it from oldest to newest. Then the next step, what we have done is I want to get rid of junk. So I'll minimize this, remove the collapse, place it in A1 cell, control shift end, control minus, say enter, remove the filter, and I'm going to stop my recording. Now, if I have to do the same steps, I just need to run the macro. So I'm copying again the bank statement, whatever I have, pasting it in A1 cell. I'll paste it in A1 cell, select this and just run the macro. What is the macro? Bank import. I'll just say run. Because it's handling the networking and so many connections are there, it is taking so much time, but otherwise it won't take even this much time also. It will hardly take anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds. Now, as you know, once we are connecting through Zoom or BlueJeans and all, there will be a conflict between the applications. So that is where sometimes the processor will stuck up, but otherwise it hardly takes some 20 to 30 seconds. We'll wait for another 1-2 seconds. If it is not happening, I'll just terminate this. I'm just trying to show the way advantage of having a macro recording. Anyway, I think that's what I said, the conflict of processor speed and all that stuff. But anyway, I'll stop it. I'll share that macro to the branch anyway, along with all the files. So let me just stop this, not to lose the Excel file more than anything. Now, coming back to 1 second. This is what sometimes I risk taking macro recording, but obviously we have to live with it. So just give me a minute before it hangs. Yes. Yeah. So it won't take, it has refined. As you can see, it has compiled the entire data while running the macro. But it won't take this much time. I can assure you it hardly takes 20 to 30 seconds, not more than that. Okay. So this is about a macro recording. as you are saying, as I was saying, in fact, I think I've deviated from the one where I've started. I said, if in case I have multiple spaces, let's say I have a data where it says 1st of April 2020, and I have some narration 1, I have narration 2, I have narration 3, and somewhere in other dates we have only one narration, and other dates you might have only 2 narrations. Now in this case, how is that we are going to deal with concatenation? Do I have to use equal to join? It is not possible for the reason that there is no fixed kind of narrations flowing. So there I can use one particular concept. What I'm going to do is I'll apply a filter on the dates. Okay, let me just have some heading. I'll say date narrations. Let's call it as remarks. So once I have this, let me apply a filter, and wherever date is there, I'll just have this 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll apply a filter, call up a number called 1, 2, 3, and let's call it as serial number. I'll opt for a particular option called under home button, under find and select. You have an option called go to special. You click on blanks. So what it will do is it will immediately highlight those blanks within the selected cells. I'll say equal to copy the above number. So that way it has repeated throughout the respective data. Wherever you have blanks, it is copied the above number. I'll copy paste special because obviously you don't want to carry. Now what I'll do is I'll use a particular function called concatenate. Okay, what concatenate does is it will join. Unlike concatenate, concat is a function which can join up to 255 different kind of rows data or 255 cells of data. So I'll use concat, where I'll use a function called, as I said, this is more of a technical function. What I can do is I can just place this formula. You can probably practice, you'll get to know what exactly the concept. So I'm trying to concatenate wherever I have blank, I want to join these particular narrations. Wherever it is not there, I don't want to join anything. So I'm taking this as a reference, saying staying in the same row and same column. Height is nothing but how many cells you want to join. So there I'll use this COUNTIF, saying that I want to count wherever I have this 1, I want to get a count. So logically what it will say 3 in this place because there are 3 ones. Here it will say only 1. Here it will say 2. So height is the one, it is deciding how many text to be joined. Obviously it is going to be 1 column. Now this way, if I'm doing this, if I'm copying this particular value, what it has done in place of dates. Okay, now we'll apply a date filter. See whether we got all the narrations properly. Now it has joined 3 narrations here. It has had only 1 narration. It has joined 2 narrations. So no matter you have 3 narrations or 10 narrations, this is automatically call up all the narrations into single place. Okay, so this is a formula what you can use. This of course I'll share it the branch. Now this is one way of, now because we have recorded a macro, so called the data input, it is asking us to save it as a macro enabled workbook. So I'm trying to save it as a macro enabled workbook. So I'll say save as a macro enabled workbook. Okay, this is with regard to the first type of import what we have done. Now let's take up the second one. Second one, let's go with a delimited kind of test import. So if you take up, let's say you have a ledger balances report. What ledger balances report is, irrespective of whatever ERP you are using, whether Finacle or FlexiCube or Banks 24, whatever it is, you have a balances report. This actually, one more hint I want to give is, whenever you request any banker to provide any kind of report, they might come out with the answer saying that it might take some time to generate. No, they'll ask you to buy a time, saying that it will take time. Please be ensured that all these reports, what we are asking, are not being generated on this date. it is already generated as part of EOD. Each ERP at the end of the day, it will generate these reports, zip those reports, places in a particular folder in the system. Mostly it will be in the local server of the given branch. So it is going to have all the reports generated for the past 3 years. Okay, so that way, whenever data you are asking for, it doesn't have to be generated. They have to pull out from the respective folder. It's only that probably they don't know how to pull out, probably one reason, or wantedly they want to avoid. Otherwise, there is nothing like generating while we are walking in. It is already there. You just need to mention the date, saying that I want the report on 20th of December 2020. It is available there. They just need to copy that zip file and give it to you. So all these reports, what we are seeing, the balances report, every day it will be generated and stored into a local server of the given branch. You just need to mention the report date and so on. So if they're arguing, you can probably come out with the same thing. All the reports will be generated in a single folder. Probably you just identify which folder it is being saved from your technical guide. We can get that information. Okay. Now this is the ledger balancing report. Most of the, in fact, all the SBA and affiliates of SBA will follow the similar report where you have a demarcation, that delimiter of this particular code, a special character like this. Okay. Now in these scenarios, how is that I'm going to import? Let me just first copy the entire ledger balances. Come to the Excel, paste it in same A1 cell. Now here the challenge is the headings of around 31 columns are overflowing into 6 different rows. That is one challenge. And second challenge, if you go to the last part of the report, control end, it says around 34,186 rows of data, but the data what we are looking is only 3,404. So logically 3,404 records, for the sake of 3,404 records, 10% is only relevant, 90% is the junk. So I can't keep on trying to delete the junk, refine. Better way is pick up what is required, get it into separate sheet, then do the analysis. That's the easiest way. Rather than trying to delete the junk, eliminate, retain particular data what you're looking for, extract the data what you're looking for. So for that, the second way of doing, earlier we have seen the way making use of date column. Now in this way, one good thing is, irrespective of whatever accounts we are dealing with, it carries either the branch code, or if in case of advances, it will carry the advances related code, or could be any kind of facility what they are having. It starts with that particular code, because obviously these are all ERP. That's how the coding is done. So it starts with the particular code of ERP, then follows the location, then follows the account classification, then the account number, account name, so and so. Okay, that's the pattern what it is. So obviously the first part will be common across all the accounts. So that is where I'm going to take the hint to filter my data. Now, before doing so, obviously the data is in 6 rows. So first we want to get this, all the 6 rows of data into one place. So I'm going to concatenate by using this ampersand. Okay, the symbol what we'll be using is ampersand, that is the end, which is equivalent to any kind of concatenation or join. So we are going to use this symbol to join all those 6 rows of data. So here in column B, I'll join text 1, text 2, text 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have 6 rows of data. The same, I'll control C, copy, control end, go to the last part of the table, come to that column where you want to paste, that is column B, control V. Now, once you have pasted, it has captured all the information. What we'll do is, we'll not copy and paste special this time. We'll retain the formula as it is only, because we don't want to carry the entire chunk. We want to extract only what is relevant. Now, I'll walk into that particular cell, which is common across. Now, as you can see, first row has all the information of the 6 rows, one aspect. And if I can pick up the first row from each of the record, it's as good as I got all the information of the relevant customer. So to pick up that, I'll take the hint of the common number, which is there. So as you can see, it starts with 1 will being the serial number. It has 1 space 0033, so and so. It could be like advanced classification or code of relevant advances. If you go to the last part to check whether what is common, here also we are seeing that it is 1 space 0032. So what is common is, at least this is common throughout my table right from the beginning. I'm going to pick up the same to filter. Where I will be applying filter? on that particular place where I can see both, not in the header part. Header part, obviously, we don't have that thing 1003. So I'll pick up these two columns. One column having the actual data, other column having my formula where it has concatenated all the 6 rows. I'll use filter. I'll say data, I'll apply filter, or shortcut is Control Shift L. Now here, I'll apply a filter where I'll say containing text containing the particular common term called 1003. Once I say okay, what we are going to get is all the first rows of data where it has captured all the 6 rows at one place throughout those 3404 records. Now we'll copy only that rather than trying to eliminate the chain. So I'll pick up only these rows of data. Coming to the next sheet, and this is where I'll paste it as special values. Now I am pasting the values. Now whatever 6 rows of data has been captured properly, I'll also do the same for the heading part. Let me pick up the heading on the first row, paste it as special. So I'm going to have the values. Now here I'll go with the regular text to column by following delimiter, because all the values are delimited with a special character called this. Now what is this special character? As I was saying, if you have to check, you can use a particular function called code. Of course, it is not required, but just for the sake of information, Excel recognizes it as a code 124. Okay, so 124 is the code, but what we are looking is only that particular text, because once I got that, I'll copy that special character, select the entire column, text to columns, go to delimited, not fixed weight, where I'll place delimiter in the others area. Once I paste it, immediately it has placed the partitions for all the data. Now, once I say so, I will just finish it to see how it is done with this work. Now we have all the data captured properly into multiple columns. Now you might say what we have to do with this 4, 5 and all. It's easier, it's much more easier also. In fact, let's say I want to get rid of this 4. I just need to select, go to text to column, select fixed width. Next, as you can see, automatically it has put a partition before, after this 4. So what I'm going to do is I'll say, I don't want this to import. I just select this, I'll say finish. Immediately it will remove all those. So likewise, wherever you want to get rid of those, you can just use the same text to column to get rid of whatever is not required. Thereby, you are getting all the data into a proper column where you can do the analysis. This is the second way where we are using a delimited kind of concept. Now coming to the third way, we'll take up the Excel related at the last, because no, that is more of analysis part also that will be very helpful. What we'll do is, let's say I've asked the client to provide multiple. See, one more thing, friends, whenever we are requesting for any reports, okay, usually you can request for 5 different kind of reports. One is, of course, the ledger balances. Second one is SCA report or standard assets report. Third one is probable NPA. Of course, you'll ask for NPA report, that's fine, but we hardly rely on that. In fact, we'll see what best way we can challenge that NPA report. We'll have a probable NPA report, and we'll have a substandard assets report. First one is the standard, this is substandard. Then you have doubtful assets report. And the last one, of course, the loss assets report. These are all available in all the ERPs. Okay, just need to mention, and these 5 reports or 7 reports, I'll not take it on the 31st of March. Rather, I'll select 5 different dates. Okay, there is a reason why we are selecting 5 different dates, and ensure that out of those 5 dates, one belonging to either March of last year, 2020, if I have to be specific, or could be April 20. So ensure that you ask for first thing first, one of this being from March or April 2020. Second one, anyway, you are looking for March 2021. Rest of all 3 to 4 other things could be anywhere randomly. Okay. and see that if you can pick up on the last day of the quarter, like say June, September, and December, nothing like that. Now, if you can get these reports, as I said, there's nothing like generation. It's only that they have to pull out and they have to give it. Hardly it will take 5 to 10 minutes just to search. It doesn't even go require search also, because everything is properly segregated in the folder system. It will be zip month wise. If I'm going to March, I'll see all the days, 31st days of report generated in a March folder. So I'll pick up these 5 reports. I'll ask all these 7 reports for these 5 different days. The advantage is, once I have that in Excel, I can do a gap analysis, in the sense, check upon whether a particular file is NPA, probable NPA in the month of March, okay, or probably it was a standard in March 2020, and suddenly by the June, it has turned out to be an NPA or probable NPA. Just before my March, maybe in the December or next month, quarter end, it has again come back to. So there is something we have to probably investigate. Could be a genuine reason, of course, or could be an intentionally manipulated one. So having these 5 different dates, you can do a gap analysis to see what is the differences between it, just like a regular formula. This minus that, the previous current date minus previous date, current month minus previous month, for all these 5 months. You'll see what are the differences. So that is where you go for a more like a trigger analysis kind of thing, or the gap analysis kind of. That is one. Now, all these reports once we get, okay. So this part, just hold on for a while. This will take up while we are trying to see the Excel input. Before that, I was requesting such report from the banker. Let's say I have requested for CCOD in 5 different days. Now he has provided in text format, all the 5 reports. Now, do I have to keep on doing this text to import Excel for each of the file? It's not required, provided you are having Excel version after 2013. Prior to 2013, definitely it is a challenging, because 2007-10 has no concept of RDBMS, wherein I can't create a connections with those. So the advantage of having the latest version, or at least 2013, is you can create a connection between those files. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of selecting each of the file doing text to import, rather I'll say get data from file, I'll choose folder. Now, whatever format you have in the folder, provided all are in a same format. I mean, in the same, let's say if something is having 10 columns, PDF is having 10 columns, text also should have 10 columns, or the XML also should have. It's like same format, but the generation has taken in a different kind of file types. Still, it will not have probably create any problem. I selected the folder called CCOD. It may not display the files, but it knows what are all there. I'll say open. So what Excel will do is, it will try to establish the connection with the respective folder and try to pull out. Now, these are all files which are there in the given folder. As I said, it could be text, it could be PDF, it could be XML, it could be any kind of format. Still, it will call up all the information. Only thing is that if it is in different format, it will be challenging for us to segregate that. Okay, so mostly if I'm generating from ERP, whatever format I choose, the columns are going to be same. So that way, at least I'm happy that if the banker intentionally or otherwise, certain reports he has generated as text, certain he has generated as XML, certain he has generated as Excel, still I can use this option wherein I can call up all those by merging this. Okay. Now, once I say so, I have this option called whether you want to combine, whether you want to load, you want to transform. I would rather say combine and load. So what I'm doing, all the 5 tables, I'm combining and loading into my Excel in the column A. Okay. So it might take a couple of seconds to establish a connection to call up those. Okay, fine. Now, what we are seeing is similar to the one what we have seen earlier, where everything is being copied into column A. I'll say, okay. Now, someone is good, any youngsters are good with the Power Query and all, then you can do this refining while transforming. So we are doing refining the data, you can do it in a Power Query. Okay. Now, coming to this, let me just, again, automatically it has converted into table. What I'll do is, rather, I'll change it to range. Okay, what I'll do is I'll remove the table format. I'll just convert into range, because obviously I want to remove certain information where I want to have the headings on the top row. Irrespective of whatever kind of file, first step is I want to ensure that my top row starts with a heading more than anything. Okay. Now the same regular steps. The beauty of advantage of this CCOD, or for that matter, though it is from report server, most of the time it will be in a fixed bit. So I can make use of that fixed bit, because those reports, what I'm generating as a consolidated reports, like the aging report or ledger balances, that is where the delimitation will be there. But these are the customer related accounts, wherein now they'll be generated, whatever customer generates, it will be also picked up from the same kind of format. So most of the time it will be in a fixed bit. So that's where I can take the advantage. So here it is much simpler. You have number, I'll put a partition exactly at this number. I have another number, put the partition, go to the next. It is a text, so I'll put the partition over here. Again, you have a heading starting from here, so I'll place the partition. This is a number, I'll put a partition. Limit is a number, one more. So keep on following the particular. Now you have plus and minus. What is that? We ensure that I select after plus. Don't ignore that plus, because the typicality of this text to column is, if it is a minus at the end, automatically that minus will be moved to the beginning. That means it will show properly as a negative value. But when it comes to positive figures, it will somehow retains only plus. So we have to probably a little bit manual intervention while find replacing those plus. Other than nothing much. Negatives automatically it will consider. So I'll place partition over here, then over here. Then easy for us, because everything we are dealing with a number. So everything will follow is the right alignment of the given heading. Date is also a number. Okay, just for your kind information, if you are coming across a date, date is also a number. That is the reason in the home button, all those dates, time and all will be placed in a tab called number. Okay. So I'll place the same for all. Let me just quickly run through this. Place it over here, 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 and I'll say finish. Now what we got is a proper partition of data. Don't worry about the alignment and all, that we can be taken care. Okay. Now, which field to be chosen to filter? Because we don't have date field in this, because this is a summary report. Obviously, we will not have date. Okay, as you can see, minus has been automatically taken care, whereas plus has been left at the end. Not a problem. We can still take care of that. It's only that before we do so, let's first of all identify what is relevant for us. Now, obviously, as I said, I'll choose that field. If I don't have a date, I'll choose a field where there are numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'll check for those numbers. As I said, all the numbers will be always placed on the top. That's the advantage what we are going to. So I just need to browse to the last part to get rid of this data. So what I'll do is I'll untick the entire data, go to the last part, which I want to get rid of. I don't want blanks. These are all text I don't want. Okay. You want to automate this. This also can be automated, but it requires a few more formulas saying that no, whether this is a number and all. So let's not confuse getting into functions. If you have around 10 to 15 fields, hardly it might take time you to just tick up one, because all the numbers are there on the top. I'm retaining those. I'll say okay. Now what we got is nothing but the headings, those unrelated data, those summaries, the gross totals and all. We are not requiring that. I'll place my cursor, the same Control Shift End, Control minus. These are all subtotals, so don't worry about those figures. Control minus. Get rid of the data and remove the filter. You have all the data properly arranged. You have the customer name, account number so and so, the name, and what is the interest rate, so and so. Now I am speaking about these places and all. It's just a matter of copy it, select the entire data, Alt EE, that is you want to find replace, or you can go to find and replace. So I'll go to data and find replace, where I'll say plus, and I'll not say anything. So it is going to replace all. So wherever plus is there, that has been removed. And now we have a proper data with the negatives and positives. Now you have the interest rate. TIRE is nothing but obviously there are multiple rates given to the customer. Usually whenever you are coming across a TIRE, I suggest you pick up those accounts, because these are like high net worth individuals, or the facility given for a special privileged people. Unlike the common interest, they have taken a deviation from the higher ups to modify the interest rates. So it is deviating from the master file. If I have something like intervention, interest subvention kind of things. Okay. Unlike if other things, it's a regular fixed up for all. But if I'm coming across style, it's a special interest where usually given for, it's like a modified interest rate, which is not in line with the master. So probably you can pick up these also for the sake of further investigation. Now this is with regard to CCOD, the way we have done with. Okay. So far we have done with three different kind of, one of course, a normal statement, second a ledger balances with the delimiter, third one, we have imported 5 different files into a single file. And the fourth one, what we'll take is if someone has provided the same files in a PDF format, what is that we have to do? Okay. I have multiple PDFs of the customer account what banker has provided. Now the beauty of importing from PDF is if any time you have downloaded some bank statement or a customer or a client has shared a bank statement, you right click in the PDF, or like once you open up the PDF, you right click, you will see that the copy is disabled. You can't copy, you can't print. All those features are disabled as a security feature whenever you are downloading a bank statement or a client has. But irrespective of whatever protection that PDF has, once you import into Excel, the VB script has the capability of breaching through those security protocols. That's the beauty, because the JavaScript and VB script both are different. The one what we follow Excel is the VB script, and the PDF and all whatever conversion it might have followed the different scripts. So because of that conflict, just like if I'm not sure any of you know, if I'm having a password protection within an Excel file, not external file, within an Excel sheet, someone has protected my sheet with a password, or you have protected the sheet with the password, you forgot the password. Easiest way is just upload it to your Google Drive, Gmail, open with a Google Sheet. It will break all the password. You can see, get all the data where password is broken. Because there is a conflict between the JavaScript, the so-called web script, and the VB script. So there is a protocol issue. So obviously that will be breached. Same thing happens in case of PDF. Even if you are not able to copy from PDF, even if you are not able to print from PDF, you can take this advantage where this time I'm going to import all the PDF files from folder, select this multiple PDF folder where I have all those. I'll say open. It is going to connect with the files in the given folder at one go. Now it has displayed all these things. So next step, what I'll do is I'll just say combine and load. Advantage of PDF is obviously it is a more of properly segregated data. So that way it might most of the time it will allocate properly in the different columns, unlike in text field. Yeah. Now one more area. Once I import from PDF, the advantage of having PDF is it will segregate the unstructured data and a structured data. Structured data in a table format. Once I click the table, you can see that the data is properly in a tabular form. If you click on the page, it will also have the same data, but in more like an unstructured format. So Excel, what it will do, it will have the same data in a 2 different formats. You want a structured or you want an unstructured. Obviously, I don't want to have unstructured. So what I'll do is I'll select table. Okay, and this is where I want to import. So I'll click on the table, double click on the table. To see that, I'll not use that page format. I'll use only the table format. So that I'm getting a more structured data into my table. As I said, the advantage of doing from PDF is anyway it is structured in a table format. I don't have to do with text to columns and all that stuff because already it is segregated. It will throw up the same data in a proper format. Now, beauty of this is it has established the connection. So next time, if you have to import, if you are adding one more folder file into that folder, automatically it will create a connection with it because the connection is with the folder rather than file. Let's say Branker has given 13 files and later on you ask 5 more files which you want to add to this Excel file. You don't have to do anything. Copy those 5 files, place it in the folder where you have created a link. Excel will automatically, you just need to say refresh. It will connect with the external data. It will update those 3 additional files what they have provided. So that way you are, avoiding all those steps of importing multiple files. No matter of how many number of files he adds, you just place it in the folder, say refresh, automatically that will get imported. Now the beauty of here is everything has been properly segregated while it has captured all the files, all the 10 or 13 files, whatever we have, and properly aligned that into the way what we are looking for. This is another way of importing, where we are importing from multiple files of PDF. Okay, so we dealt with 4 different kinds. And coming to the more or less Excel. Okay, so before we take up the Excel file related beautification or normalization, what I'll do is I'll take up one more file now, that which is relevant to CCOD file, just to hint down, because it's not about only technology. How to make use of technology is more important than anything. These things might be done anytime, but if I'm not using proper use, the problem here is we keep on learning so many things. By the time of bank audit during those 10 days, I hardly implement 10% of my learning. It should not be so. You take time, one day, it doesn't matter, but at least if you can implement 40 to 50% of what you're learning throughout these sessions, nothing like that. Because I don't know whether I can be saying this, but I'll be really surprised if I don't see cases in disciplinary and NEFRA increasing post this bank audit, because that's the kind of scope LFER is covering. Unless if I'm very cautious about capturing information, cautious about documenting, cautious about implementing all those SCAs, I'm taking so much of risk. So please try to implement whatever you learn. You, if possible, try to compose your team in a such a way that you have an youngster who is hands-on good with the Excel, and he can handle the data normalization and all. You can concentrate on the brand profile or the documentation or nothing like that. Okay. Now, this of course sampling. I believe all of you know the kind of audit sampling, the 530 for whatever you speak about random sampling, or you go for stratification and all. What stratification? Just for the purpose of, for the youngsters, what we do is, let's say this is the CCOD file which you have exported. What I'll do is I'll create a pivot out of it. Okay, once I get a pivot, I'll see that a pivot table will be placed there. What I'll do is the field settings. In case of field settings, I'll choose first of all customer numbers. Of course, this I've asked for 5 different dates, so it has given 5 different dates, but I'm filtering only March, because the sampling is only for the advances which are outstanding as on 31st of March. I'll ensure that my customer numbers are displayed. Within the category, I'll copy the same outstanding 2 times. One, I'll convert the values. Second one, I'll right click and show the same values as percentage of column total. So the same field, one column is displaying the values, other column is displaying the percentage of that out of the total advances under each of the group. Cash credit has its group, or the home loan has its group. So what I'll do is I'll ensure at least I'll pick up those beyond 5%. So that way, see, if you can see, let me just collapse all these things to see what kind of sampling we have done by following this. Now, this is the entire branch profile after the total advances. I've applied, converted the data into percentage. Now, if I'm covering these 2, it's like I've covered 88% of the branch profile. It's like a best sample what I can get. Rest of all, even if I ignore, I don't bother. This is 87%, 88% of the branch profile. Now within that, again, because I had percentage of what this account is, the percentage of the total balances. Now I'll pick up the top, at least those falling beyond 5% or whatever. Now that way I covered 44. So roughly around 50% of that 80%, whatever is there. It's like, and the second, I'll do the same with regard to the other terms also, where I'll pick up at least those. Now, by this sampling, you are scientifically following a technique what SCA suggested. So I'm going with the SCA 530, and while doing so, I'm covering majority of the sample out of the given branch, so that I'm minimizing my risk. I'm mitigating residual risk. I'm trying to reduce it to the possible. Okay, so this is the way we are sampling, and just for youngsters' sake. There are 2 ways of stratification we do. One is value, the one what you're seeing. The other one is, rather than value, you use count. The same customer name, the same customer values and all, you use count. Now what I'll do is, when it comes to count, again I'll pick up the same, what are the top values which are falling into count. Now if you see, this is working around 63%. Now within this, what we'll do is, if it is a value, let me just type over here. When I'm doing a stratification, if it is, I've done a sampling based on a value, I'll do a transaction audit. In the sense, I'll go through the ledgers of the given customers, which I've picked up based on a value sampling. That's what we have seen, cash credit and home credit, the top 5 accounts. I'll verify the ledgers to see what kind of transactions, is there any related party transaction, is there any flow in intervention, so on and so on. The one which we have counted in terms of count, that is volume, I'll go for a documentation audit. Now this way, transactions I've covered 88% if you see, and documentation I've covered roughly around 70%. So what best we can expect within given 7 to 10 days of time. If I'm going with this, I'm concentrating only on those accounts which are more required. If I identify any faults in that, I might be commenting on the data integrity clause in terms of LFAR. So I might pick up those accounts as an annexure, saying that this is where there is a lapse of data integrity, because no, that's where we document in terms of transaction audit. I'm picking up on the clause 1 and 2, where I'm mentioning about whether in case of threshold, that's fine. But if any transaction deviations are there, I'm commenting on the one. So while using this sampling technique of stratification, I'm ensuring the major percentage while also addressing the scope of my branch audit. Something in the chat, 1 second. Yeah, fine. Okay, so this is about the sampling technique. As I said, no, the sampling itself might require a 2 to 3 hours of session if I have to focus more on the stratification or sampling, like random sampling, scientific random sampling, so on and so on. Okay, but anyway, our focus more than sampling, that is one area. Second is, if you remember, we were asking about branch to provide all the details of probable NPA. So I've taken from March to different dates. I've asked them to provide. So they were provided different dates. Probable NPA, the same text to Excel import, the same steps what we have done. Standard assets, substandard assets, doubtful assets. These are the sheets, as you can see in the bottom. Loss assets. All these 5 different kind of statements what I requested during 5 different dates, I'll paste it in the same Excel file where I have CCOD, which has been generated for 5 different dates. Okay, are you getting? In a given file, you'll have CCOD generated for 5 different dates. In the same file, whatever data import we have done, probable NPA, standard assets. Now, probable NPA, you might give 5 different dates. The same way we have imported all the text files at one go, the same thing I'll do. I'll have all those 5 different sheets in the given file. Now I'll do a simple VLOOKUP for each of the CCOD account. What I'll do, I'll check whether it is there in the probable NPA, it is there in the standard asset, it is there in the substandard, it is there in the doubtful, it is there in the loss asset. Just like in normal VLOOKUP, I'll be looking up for this particular customer account, whether it is there in the respective probable NPA standard days for the given month. What is that? You might say that already system is taking care. System is taking care. But I want to find my own triggers. I'm going to filter down those probable NPA and I'll filter down those standard assets. Now, these are the 59 accounts which were there sometime in probable NPA and which have moved into standard assets. My focus will be whether there is a genuine cause for this probable NPA moving into standard assets, or whether there are some facilities like ad hoc facility, or there is a routing happened between the related party, or there is some transactional flow between the related parties. My focus will be specifically on these accounts. Okay, and these obviously will be there in your sampling because you're picking up the CCOD and all. Ensure that if it is not there, that's fine. If it is there, you ensure exactly pick up those accounts and understand whether there is a genuine reason or otherwise. So I'm just trying to utilize the time what we have given the 1 week time, what best we can do to at least address those important aspects where we will reduce my risk more than anything. Similar to any kind of, like say you are seeing that there are a couple of doubtful assets, whether those doubtful assets have not been classified as loss asset. How come? I mean, the doubtful asset is in it is there for more than 36 months. There is actually a discretionary clause in RBI Master Circular which says branch might have to classify it as a loss asset. When it is a discretion, obviously branch will never utilize, and that is where as an auditor you question for what reason you have not considered it as a loss asset. What kind of possibility you are expecting for recovery of it. Okay, so you will pick up these accounts to question on this clause whether it has to be completely written off from my balance sheet. Okay, so these, as I said, we are not taking any help from the system, but I'm using the report generated from the system, analyzing my own way. Okay, this is one area. And considering the time, let me just rush through another important aspect of Yeah, we have seen 4 different ways of refining the data from the text, from the PDF, from the collection files and all. What if banker has provided the data in an Excel sheet and in such a way that, in fact, crazily what happened is I've been asking the data banker to provide the information in Excel sheet. What he has done smartly, they have generated the report. Now, this is the report what they have generated. What it says, it has the header of the customer, that's fine, but the data is so unstructured, it becomes so difficult for us to compile the data. You analyze the data, everything flowing merged, everything wrapped text, everything flowing into different rows, and each customer following one after another, repeating the same headers, same footers. Okay, this is the challenge. So unlike text to Excel, at least text to Excel, I have some comfort fixing up the delimiter, but Excel, what kind of refining I do? I can't keep on deleting the blank cells. I can't keep on removing the merge. I can't keep on removing the wrap. I can't do all that stuff, is it not? But there is an easiest way, a simplest way by using a if function. We'll see that also. What first thing what we do is, a banker has shared this, I'll just remove the merge, because a simple logic in case of merge is the value will be there in the first cell of the merged cell. So that way I'm not losing my value. It's only that I'm removing the merge, and I'll also remove the wrap. So I'm not going to lose any data. It's only that entire data will be captured into one single cell. That's fine with me. Okay. And let's try to expand the data so that we can see the customer names and all that stuff. Okay. Now here, as you can see, this is so unstructured. I want to refine this. Now here I use an if function. Before that, what I want to do is, how is that I can identify this particular transaction belongs to this customer? This is there in the header and there are transactions below that. If I apply a filter, I lose to which customer this transaction belongs to, because each of the row might have its own date right till the end of that particular sheet. I'm referring to around 2,500 data. I'm just minimize this entire thing. So I don't know which particular transaction belongs to which customer if I'm removing the data by using a filter. So what I'll try to do is, I'll try to retain the customer name, whatever is important, customer account number, chart of account, or the customer ID. I'll try to retain those 4. While doing that, I'll also use the technique of binding the data. If you remember, I was using copy paste to bind the entire data into as if it is a table. I'll use this data while also trying to bind my entire data. So for that, as we thought, we'll have 4 columns. I'm going to insert 4 columns likewise, so that we want to have all those 4 details, whatever we have. Now, first thing first, I want to capture the customer name. So what I'll do is, I'll copy the same text, including the colon, whatever it is there. I'll say customer name. I'll copy the account number, including the format, whatever we have. Same with the customer ID, sorry. And also with the classification, what kind of loan it is. That is the chart type account in this particular bank. Each bank might follow their own labeling, but anyway. Now I'll use if function while also binding. So what I'll do is a if logic. What if function I'm going to use is, I'm going to select given cell, okay, that is E9, whatever we have, equal to the same cell. Okay, let me just maximize so that you can see the screen. So I'll say if the particular customer name equal to the same customer name, but second option I'll freeze by clicking F4. That means I'm freezing that particular cell value E11. Okay, if so, if both are same, then you capture the customer name. Okay, now I'm entering the formula somewhere else. My cell reference is somewhere else. If I'm using mouse, by mistake, I might click some other wrong cell. So instead, I'll use a shortcut called control backspace. It will take you to the active cell, control backspace. So it will automatically take you to the cell where you are entering the formula to get rid of all those. Now, if it is so, capture the customer name. If not, capture the value which is above that. I'll say OK. Now, to interpret this particular formula, what I'm saying is, in the given column, because all my data of the customer data is in column E only. Wherever you browse through that particular data, I'm browsing through various customer data. Everywhere column E has captured the labels, okay, throughout my bank statement. So I'm going to use the same field, saying that in the column E, a particular cell has the name field called customer name. You immediately pick up what is there adjacent to that. If not, copy the above formula. So if I'm doing so, while doing that, if I copy this to the next cell, because the next cell, that is the customer ID, doesn't have a name called customer name, it is going to skip the relevant value. It is going to copy which is there above that. So likewise, I'm going to use this throughout all the fields. So just to run through quickly, I'll say if account number is, sorry, I'll say if the given account number is equal to account number, freeze it, then copy the value which is adjacent to that account number, else copy the value above that. Same with the customer ID, I'll say if the customer ID equal to customer ID, freeze it. If so, select the value adjacent to that. If not, select the above value. Same we do with the chart of accounts. I'll say if the chart of account equal to chart of account, freeze it. If so, pick up the value which is adjacent to the chart of account. If not, the above value. And to go to the last part of our sheets, select